Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sporting Mentality. Today we're going to be reacting to 10 people who beat the odds, basically. 10 greatest against all odds stories in the NBA today. If you don't follow my TikTok, I actually made a few videos on people who beat the odds. One of them was Jimmy Butler, and he's on this thumbnail. So I want you guys to see his story because his story is absolutely insane, and it's honestly very inspiring. So without further ado, make sure to subscribe, like, turn on post notifications, all that good stuff, and let's get right into the video.
The NBA come from all across the world, and everyone has different backgrounds and different stories for how they made it to the league.
Jimmy Butler's story is insane, guys. It really is.
Some have been lucky to even make it to this point alive. So we're going to look at the 10 greatest against all odds stories in the NBA today. The players that shouldn't have made it to this point, that shouldn't have been able to do what they have, but through hard work and dedication, turn their bad situations around into some of the greatest stories we've ever seen. Starting with number 1, Jimmy Butler. From start to finish, Jimmy's got one of the most compelling stories in the league. And here's why. Because almost as soon as Jimmy was born, his dad abandoned his family, which left him with a single mom. And that didn't last too long because when he was 13 years old, his mom told him, "I don't like the look of you, you gotta go," and kicked him out of the house. So he bounced around different friends' houses and foster homes, hoping to have a place to stay every night. And it took him all the way up until the summer before his senior year of high school to find an actual home to stay at every night, when he moved in with a freshman on the basketball team, Jordan Leslie. Leslie's mom already had 6 kids living in her home, but they quickly accepted Jimmy into the family. And through all of this, sports and basketball specifically were the thing that kept him going. By his senior year of high school, he was averaging 20 points and 8 rebounds a game.
That's insane. He's been homeless since the age of 13. He was homeless from 13 to like 18, basically. Imagine being homeless that young at that age, like for 5 years.
And was his team's captain and
crazy how far he's came.
MVP, but still wasn't heavily recruited. So he ended up going to Tyler Junior College, where he played 1 season, averaging 18, 7, and 3, but was still only named a 2-star recruit. But it was enough for him to start gaining interest from D1 schools. And he eventually got an athletic scholarship to Marquette, where he started out slow, averaging 5 and 3 as a sophomore.
D-Wade school.
But through being one of the hardest working players in college basketball, his game developed every year. The next season he would put up 14 and 6, and then as a senior averaged 15 and 6. Including hitting 2 game winners, and helped his team to the NCAA tournament, which attracted the Chicago Bulls to selecting him 30th overall in the 2011 NBA draft.
Bro, he said that he progressed so much during college. Dude, we're not going to talk about NBA. The first few years he was in, he was like an average role player, and now he's an actual star, an NBA star, an all defensive player, defensive of the year candidate. I don't know, did he win it? I have no idea, but anyways, he's such a good player now. It's crazy how far his game's developed.
He started out slow, averaging only 2 points a game as a bench player in his rookie season, but developed his game every single year, and by his 4th year in the league, he made it clear that he was a star player, putting up over 20 points a game and making the All-Star team as a member of the Chicago Bulls.
That's awesome.
And today he continues living up to the reputation as being one of the best two-way players in the league. And all of this has made his story be described as one of the most remarkable in the history of the league. Number 2, Steph Curry. You might not have been expecting to see a player on this list whose dad played in the NBA. And Steph's story isn't as intense as some of the rest of these, but it's still worth...
My guess is Steph's story is more like he was so short and he was at Davidson, which is a small school, and he was he wasn't very highly recruited like by the NBA teams, and he somehow got in the Warriors and like went off.
Mentioning. Because he definitely has one of the better underdog stories. But that really didn't start for him until he was in high school, because as early as middle school, his shot and his handles were already so good that one day his coach saw him warming up for a game and asked him if he could teach him some of those moves so he can use them in his men's league later that night. And because Curry was so good, so young, he was leading his middle school team to beating everyone by 40 or 50 a night, so his coach started to make his team play high school teams instead, and they won a lot of those games too thanks to Steph. And this same insane level of skill translated over to high school basketball right away. Former NBA player Anthony Morrow grew up near Steph Curry, so they played a lot of high school games against each other. And Morrow said that he was just as skilled then
as he is now. Every school had the same
as he is now. And that every school had the same game plan for him, which was to swarm Curry the second that he passed half court. because if you didn't, it was over. So the skill for Curry was always there, who would go on to be named All-Conference, All-State, and lead his team to 3 state playoff appearances. But no matter how great he was still said to have looked like a 14-year-old as a senior that stood 6 foot tall, was 160 pounds, and wasn't the best athlete. So scouts still said he was too small, which meant that he was only a 3-star
How'd he make it to Davidson,
and the big universities across the nation all passed on Steph Curry. So he ended up going to Davidson, where he instantly put together some of the greatest scoring and shooting performances in the history of college basketball, averaging 25 points a game for his 3 years.
I didn't know he was that good in college.
As a senior, which led to him proving that even though he was small and not the most athletic, he was still capable of playing the game at any level, and was still taken 7th overall in the 2009 NBA draft. When nobody believed in him except a few select people.
That's when Baron Davis and Monte Ellis were on the Warriors, right?
And is still proving everyone wrong today.
So he had competition.
A 2-time MVP and becoming the greatest shooter of all time. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Greek freak grew up in Athens, Greece. Shocker. But his family was poor, so as a young kid, he'd spend a lot of his time walking around the streets trying to sell watches and sunglasses just to help his family buy food that day. In his free time, though, he loved to play soccer with his brothers. And one day when he was 13, a basketball coach of one of the local clubs...
Yeah, this is crazy. He's probably going to say this, but, like, Giannis didn't find out about basketball until he was, like, 13 years old. Like, it's insane how, and within 5 years of playing basketball, this random sport, he turned into one of the best players in the world.
In Greece, spotted him and invited him to play on the team. And the coach saw a huge potential in him right away, because he told Giannis that if he played, he would find both of his parents' jobs working with the team. So without question, he joined. But up until this point, he'd barely ever played basketball, and his coach said that he couldn't make a layup or dribble the ball. And to even further show just how much potential this coach saw in Giannis, he'd help his family with a long commute, getting him back and forth to practice, and even help
Giannis's like body type is
and in a better
incredible.
Neighborhood. And through all of that, he eventually fell in love with the game and practiced for hours every day. And he'd quickly get better
as
every year.
He came a long way,
By the time he was
too.
16, he was playing on this junior squad of a semi-pro team in Greece. The next year, his game really developed, and he'd get moved up to the senior team. And this is where NBA scouts first learned of Giannis. It was reported that all 30 NBA teams, except for the Knicks, great job New York, went to go scout him and watch him play.
No way!
Which led to him entering the 2013
Bro, the Knicks
NBA
never
draft,
get good luck. Oh, that's hilarious.
Overall by the Bucks. He'd gone from selling watches in the street and having never played basketball to 4 years later making it onto an NBA team. None of this would have been possible without that coach that first discovered him and really got him onto playing basketball. And Giannis never forgot where he came from, because he's thanked that...
I love those player and coach's story with, like, Allen Iverson, I forget who passed away, rest in peace to his coach. George Thompson, wasn't it? Or Coach Thompson. I'm just going to say Coach Thompson just in case I didn't get his name right. But Coach Thompson for Allen Iverson, he had like a 2016 Hall of Fame speech when Allen Iverson got inducted and started crying and everything. And Coach Thompson just passed away like 2 days ago. So rest in peace to Coach Thompson.
Said that he
but I just love those relationships.
Career. And as a rookie, all of his family was still overseas trying to get their papers worked out. So every single cent that he made, he sent over to them to try and help him out. So much so that he had to run to an NBA game because he had no money left for a taxi. And in that same season, he spent the most money he had ever spent when he bought a PlayStation 4. But he said he couldn't stand the guilt that he was using that kind of money on a game while his family was back home struggling. So he sold it to an assistant coach and sent them that money too. And this humble mindset combined with his work ethic and his freak body, or it's led him to becoming one of the league's top players and a top MVP candidate.
Mindset is
Number 4,
so crucial.
Isaiah Thomas. 5'9" Isaiah Thomas has always been an elite level basketball player considering his size. His basketball skill on the court has never been the question.
Where did he go to college?
Never been any part of what's held him back. What has, though, has been the perception that everyone else has had for him, that he was just too small to be successful at the next level. Except his dad, who nicknamed him Big Head when he was born. But seriously, IT has never let that affect him. As a junior in high school, the man averaged over 31 points a game, and held a pretty similar pace the next year as a senior. But that still only landed him as a 3-star recruit. And that was the first sign in his eyes that people weren't going to give him the credit that he deserved. Eventually, he moved to the University of Washington, where he'd attend for 3 seasons. And in those 3 years, he wasn't the biggest standout, no pun intended, but he averaged 16-4, was a 2-time Pac tournament MVP, and a 2-time member of the first team All Pac-10.
And then he got drafted to the Kings, right?
Season to enter the NBA draft. which was almost a mistake because, as most of us know, he was taken with the very last pick in the draft that year. But that was probably the best thing that could have happened to him, because through his entire career, IT's used this as motivation to prove all the other 29 teams that passed on him that they made a mistake.
Yep.
And that's exactly what he's done. All Isaiah ever needed was an opportunity, and once he got it, he ran with it. And had a solid rookie season.
He was good on the Kings too, guys. Don't take him out. Don't take that out of consideration. He was good on the Kings.
Surprised everyone and finished 7th in the Rookie of the Year voting. Over the years, his game would slowly progress, and he would continue to try and find a consistent role as a starter. And he finally did that when the Boston Celtics finally gave him the chance that he deserved. In his first full season with the team, he averaged 22 points and 6 assists a game, before he really made a name for himself by averaging 29 and 6 on the year, making the All-Star game for the second year in a row, and flat out leading the Celtics deep into the playoffs before getting injured. And since that injury, it's led IT's career to taking a turn for the worse, but we can tell that he's working to get it back on track.
He's a role player now, but
against all odds, proving everyone wrong, and making it to be one of the top players in the league once again. Number 5, Damian Lillard. Today, Dame is known as a clear top 5 or 6 point guard in the NBA. But his journey to...
No. I know this was made a year ago, but Damian Lillard's no longer considered a top 5 point guard in the league. He's a top 5 player, not point guard. He's a top 5 player in the league.
Get to this point is even more impressive. He's gotten to where he is today through dedication, fearlessness, and hard work. Traits that he's had ever since he was a kid. He grew up in one of the worst parts of Oakland, and growing up there and seeing the things that he saw at a young age played a huge factor that he said have made him fearless in life and even more so on the court. But since he was little, before he was ever great at the game, he would sit outside the doors of the local rec center and wait for the doors to open at 9 a.m. and usually stay until it got dark. When all the other kids would go home to play video games,
Dame's so
Dame
underrated,
would still
bro.
be in the gym
So
watching
underrated.
grown men play while he practiced dribbling with his left hand. And this work ethic carried on in middle school. Even back then, his coaches described him as being as fearless and competitive as they've ever seen a kid at that age. And Dame has said that back in 7th grade was when he really started to care about wins and losses and trying to make it onto the national rankings so he could see who was better than him and try and make his name go up on the list every game. But unfortunately, even by the time he was entering the 11th grade, he was still next to unheard of on a national level. A Bay Area scout even told him that he was
windmills
good, but
in
not
high
great.
school for
And
Dame.
his
He's
AA
probably like
coach said
5'10".
that Lillard's the type of guy that when he's doubted, it builds a fire inside him. That when he's told he's not gonna win the game, that he's not good enough, he's gonna do everything in his power to prove you wrong. And that's when his coach pulled...
And he still does that today. Like, for example, in the playoff series, he's like, we're winning the next game or whatever. He won that game. Like, Damian Lillard literally has, like, Portland would be nothing. Portland would be the 2011 Charlotte Bobcats without Damian Lillard. Because Damian Lillard just carried that team for the past 5 years. I know they have CJ, but Damian Lillard does it all.
Pulled Lillard aside after practice one day and told him, you don't play hard enough and you don't practice hard enough. You got the potential to play big time college ball, but you can't even play for me. And he said this knowing that it would light a fire inside Lillard like never before. And it definitely worked because Dame said that this turned out to be a huge moment in his life. Because after all the doubt he faced, and people telling him he wasn't good enough and he wasn't gonna make it, his coach telling him that he believed he had the potential to play in a big time college, let him know that he truly believed in him. But then when he was a senior, he got a bigger taste of just how bad his hometown was. When he got confronted by 3 men while walking home after practice. He stood tall, ready to defend himself, until one of them put a gun to his forehead.
Damn. What a video. Oh my god. So he couldn't even fit them all in the same video. That's how long each story was. So it starts off with Jimmy Butler being homeless at the age of 13 and ending with Damian Lillard having a gun to his head. What a freaking YouTube video. No wonder it has 5 million views. If you aren't subscribed to Austin Sweat, by the way, what are you doing? What? I don't know what you're doing, but it's not right. You're not doing anything right. But if you guys enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications if you got more videos like this. And suggest videos you want me to react to in the comments below. I'll react to any videos you have in the comments below. Just let me know any suggestions. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Peace out.